So the press conference you Dolphin fans have been impatiently waiting for finally took place on Thursday. And I got to admit, I was a little bit surprised. We'll discuss that on Dolphins in depth. Joining me is Isaiah Smalls, Miami Dolphins beat reporter, fresh from Delaware, where he took a ridiculous 6 a.m. flight to get to a press conference. I told him he could have watched on live stream, but I heard the audio wasn't very good on live stream, so you probably benefited from this.
And I would have been one of the thousands of people who was
angry,
completely confused when they cut off Sully's end of. He sounded like he was about to get to something juicy. Like I can't say this.
I was asked about that like 20 times.
Yeah.
For those who missed it on the live stream, Sully was like, "Let me get something in. I gotta get this off my chest." And then the last stream just went dead. So Dolphin fans were like, "Oh, like, let me. What is going on here?
Yeah, what just happened?"
He just basically said that Mr. Ross runs a first-class organization, and the amount of people that have been extremely helpful in his first week that's getting here has left a great impression on him. That's how Ross rolls, first class in everything but football. I'm sure you enjoyed your meal. We had a nice spread, dessert, salad, fruits. They made sure we get well fed every day. Dolphins, I always talk about the landscaping. I mean, today might have been the only day I've ever seen nobody cutting any aspect of the lawn. But they knew Ross was coming. So that thing was meticulous.
I was about to say, so that means that they prepared, you know what I'm saying?
That
John was done.
I ain't see a leaf on the floor. Like,
no, nothing was out of place. Not even the little pebbles that they be having, man. Nothing was out of place.
But let's get into the introduction of new general manager Jon-Eric, who wants to be referred to as Sully, and new head coach. Damn, I'm like Steve Ross. I forgot his name. Jeff Hafley, yeah.
Oh wait, you're not gonna just gloss on that shot, Steve Ross. Yes,
you know I'm a little shady, just a little bit.
I mean, look. It was funny. Yesterday, I was just having a brief conversation in the group chat, like about owners and them talking. Obviously, after Terry Pegula kind of went up there and stuck his whole foot in his mouth yesterday. I texted the homie. I was like, look, like I'm not surprised. That's literally the reason why I haven't talked to Stephen Ross. Since I've been on this beat.
If you give me Stephen Ross, I'm going to give you a lot of content.
Yeah, see?
Which is why they will not give me Stephen Ross. I love Steve. Like, Steve, I mean, when you're a billionaire, you can just say whatever comes out of you. Like,
it don't matter. It don't matter who can check you. Only people that can check you are people who got the same wallet as you. And that is certainly not us.
I did find it interesting. He was like, "Yeah, I used to enjoy reading the newspapers until."
Yeah, when I heard that, I don't know if you remember. I turned right around.
He turned around, yeah.
I was like, "He talking about you. He definitely talking about you." That's crazy.
Oh man, listen, I love Ross. The man tries. This is the first time I will say. I don't know if he got the hiring right. But he got the approach right, not from the selection standpoint, but the fact that he brought everybody together in unison. Yeah. They are together in unison. Nobody has to play catch up. Nobody has to be brought up to speed. Nobody, there's a friendship there. It's not a massive friendship. They didn't grow up best buds, but they've known each other for 2 years. There's a ton of respect. Every GM has to go into an interview and saying, if you were allowed the opportunity to hire a head coach, who would you hire? Just like every coach has to answer, if you were named a head coach, who would your offensive and defensive coordinators be? You got to have those conversations. That's why, stuff starts circulating throughout the league because people start making phone calls and making this and this and that and talking. And it had been circulating for a while that this is Jeff Hadley's job. to lose, Hafley's job to lose, or win or accept. What I found very interesting from the press conference and do want to address is the fact that he said, there was one team that wanted me to sneak out of the hotel, which was clearly, and do an interview in Miami. That's clearly the Raiders, who were doing their interview at the national championship game site, because he lives here and he wants to go to the national championship game. You know how he rolls. You're going to do things on his timeline.
I like that. That's actually kind of hard. That's actually come to the box. We got you. He's like,
yeah, come. I mean, and then there was another franchise that had a plane waiting for him to take him to more than likely Tennessee, which wanted to do a second round of interviews. He talked to 6 teams. While I have done my research on Jeff Hadley, and I've sent you some of the stuff, and I've done an extensive amount of research on him. While I will initially say that I was not thoroughly impressed, especially with his record at Boston College, especially what he had accomplished at Green Bay in his first 2 seasons, I will acknowledge that seeing him in his press conference, there was a moment, Isaiah. There was a moment, just a moment, for like a 2-second moment. Well, I got goosebumps listening to him. I said, yeah.
What part was this?
I think probably the introduction before he got up there and before he answered questions, and he was just, he did like a 10-minute, 5-minute, 6-minute speech. Well, wasn't no stuttering, no, it wasn't no stammering, wasn't no
yeah,
wasn't no, and it went somewhere. And it was talking about building a team that I believe they should be building. Yeah. And it talked about learning from Hall of Fame players, talked about not being finished on this journey of learning. And there was a humility level, there was a confidence level. And I was just like, okay, all right.
No, I understand that. No, I feel you. I think one thing that really stood out to me just during my research is that he commands a certain respect from players, right? There was a story told that he was in, I believe, Tampa when Rondé Barber was making the switch from corner to safety. Mind you, this is a Hall of Fame guy, right? And just the way that their relationship worked. Mind you, I think Rondé was 37, he was 33. But the reason why they got along was because he wanted to know, he being Jeff Hafley, wanted to know what Rondé was seeing and wanted to know how he can help him, wanted to know how he can ease the transition. And that's just a result of being really meticulous, very detail-oriented. The question that I asked today was, about for 2 years, not a couple months, not a few weeks, for 2 years, this man slept in his office as a graduate assistant at Pitt. That, to me, was mind-boggling because, look, I don't got the biggest apartment, but I ain't sleeping in the office, right? And to me, that I wanted to know, what does that say about him? What does Sully believe that says about him? And, the answer that I got was just hard work, man, like work ethic. Like, he's a guy that is going to be first one in, last one out. And I know that these are very cliche terms to throw at coaches and everything. But when you talk about a guy, when you talk about preparation, right, that is something that you want. You want someone who is meticulous, who goes over every detail, who can make the game easier. And this is, and you hear that from all players. I heard that from LaShawn McCoy, who was at Pitt during that time. Heard that from Richard Sherman. I heard it from several different people. That to me is like, okay, this is interesting. And then I even saw something about when he got to Green Bay and Xavier McKinney was kind of the odd man out on that defense, right? And he was able to reach the guy and bring him in to the fold, right? And so when you talk about a guy that can reach players, that can connect with them on a level that's different than Mike McDaniel, because I believe Mike McDaniel can do the same thing. But Mike McDaniel's approach was a little bit more buddy versus half trying to be a guy that is going to coach you hard in order to get the best out of you. And so I'm curious to see how this plays out. Obviously, this is day one, right? Day one of the new era. Yeah. And everything we're saying now is more so speculative because, to me, all this stuff is talk until week one. Week one happens, we line them up.
Not even week one. Not even week one. I say this all the time. I've said this for over a decade. I don't judge nobody until adversity starts hitting. When you hit that 4-game losing streak, that's when I begin judging you. Because some people soil their pants. Some people can't handle that stuff, you know?
Yeah.
I will disagree with you. Just because you sleep in your office, just because you show up at 5 a.m. and you're the first one in the building, I've always not understood that obsession of, and players have shared the same thing. Like even Tua, I remember Tua saying it one time, like, why do you get here at 2:30 in the morning? Like what's the point? You like if you know, do you think if you work 20 hours a week, it makes you better or makes you more prepared? Not to say that, you know, Tua's the greatest person to be quoting from, but like, you know, Tua worked hard. Let's
yeah, of course.
Tua was one of the most prepared quarterbacks in the NFL. His arm died on him. Let's have some realization here. But like that doesn't impress me. And what does impress me is,
I'm sorry, wait, sleeping in your office for 2 years don't impress you?
No.
We had different levels of pressure. I couldn't do that. I'm gonna be honest with you.
Bro, have you ever been? I promise you can sleep in the Dolphins facility. I promise you.
Okay, the Dolphins facility, but
it's facility, which I believe they share with the Packers. I mean, with the Steelers. Like,
I don't know, man. I don't know.
Yes. You gonna have a couch.
They might share a field. He didn't even have a couch. My man said, "Oh, you will have a couch. You probably will have a couch." The man said he was sleeping on an air mattress for 2 years.
Bro, they doing your laundry. Air mattress ain't like they doing your laundry. There's food. There's showers. What else you need? There's TV. What else you need? Like, what you need?
My own space. A break. It's called a work-life balance. That's what I need.
Somewhere to take your joints or whatever you call them.
Like, you can't take your joint to your work.
Where you work? That's what you. I know that's what you need.
I ain't trying to take him to the office to where I work. That's crazy. That's crazy. That's wild. That's crazy work right there.
Listen. People also got to acknowledge that. You know who gave him his biggest break in football?
Wannstedt.
Dave Wannstedt, former Dolphins coach, who people won't put respect on his name, but there hasn't been a Dolphins coach to replicate his success since. He had multiple winning seasons. Oh yeah, he had multiple winning seasons.
Technically, the list wasn't it Shula, Wannstedt, and McDaniel was the only two guys to make the playoffs in the first 2 years?
I don't know. I don't care.
It is. No, it is.
Yeah,
that's a fact.
Yeah,
that's a fact.
I don't know.
Said I don't care. Didn't get us anywhere. We're still here looking for another coach.
Yeah, show me the last guy to get a playoff win. I think that's Dave Wannstedt. Yeah,
I think it is. It definitely.
Yeah. So, what were your impressions of Sullivan? Or Sully, as he likes to be called?
To me, what stood out was this emphasis on, look, like, we need a quarterback, right? And he didn't go that far. He said, like, we want a quarterback, right? And whether that quarterback is in the building or we're going to go get him, like, the quarterback position is the most important position in sports. However, this is where my ears perked up is that we want to have that infrastructure around him, because if we are getting a quarterback and we don't got no offensive line, we just got a Cam Ward situation, right? Like, that's, no one wants that. And so I really, receivers, right? Or running back, right? And so to me,
I was surprised he left tight end out of that, because the tight end is a young quarterback's best friend.
I agree. And so to me, his emphasis on building the structure was huge. And then outside of that, I'm a fan of his draft and develop philosophy, right? I feel like recently in Dolphins land, it's been too much chasing the big fish, chasing the free agent, where the biggest thing you need to do is to draft and retain your talent. If they imagine this offense, even this year, if they would have had Robert Hunt, right? Like, that would have been a huge boost on that O-line. Even the year before that, in 2024, my first year on the beat, like, they needed superior guard play. And when they got below average to average guard play, right? And so to me, having that infrastructure around your quarterback to me is huge. Building a culture, right, that is primarily driven by drafting guys, not just drafting guys, drafting the right guys.
It's draft and develop.
And then to take it a step further, one thing that really stood out to me was finding the guys, right, that aren't going to be obsessed with everything Miami has to offer, right? Like Miami is one big distraction, right? And now on one hand, it's easier said than done, right? You can say, oh, I'm going to draft guys that aren't strip club hounds, that don't blah, 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 like aren't, you know what I'm saying? Like
fans capital of the world, my dude.
Yeah.
It's like,
and so the thing is, it will reach you, right? But I believe that there are guys out there, right? And there are guys that wear, that, how do I say this?
God Squatters? No.
What is that?
You don't know what a God Squatter is?
No, what is it?
Football term for Jesus Christ followers, guys who are ultra Christian, like the God Squatter.
Okay. Yeah. God Squatter. I think it said squatter. I'm like, what are they doing?
God Squad.
Like squatting God?
Yeah.
But I'm not saying that. I'm just saying like there has to be like bringing in guys that you know have a history of messing up, right?
Oh,
you're bringing them to Miami. I'm not talking about anyone in particular, so stop what you're saying right now.
No. I'm not saying nothing. I'm saying you're saying the guys who walk the line, you can't bring them here.
Yeah, you can't.
Well, unfortunately, let me confess to you that a lot of the guys who walk the line, those are your dogs. Those are your guys who make those game-changing plays, the Tyreek Hills of the league. And if you want to be a good team, you cannot avoid them. Because
I agree, but you're right. However, I want them to come into an already established culture where they have to fit the program. And if they can't fit the program, then they have to go elsewhere. I don't want them to be the guys setting the tone. Respectfully.
No, you make a very excellent point.
I want them to fall in line versus them leading the line. And to me, that is kind of what this team had been missing. Right, you have, and this is just the reports that we read. Right, obviously ESPN had a good story the start of the season talking about some of this stuff behind the scenes with Tyreek, with Jalen Ramsey, the lateness, whatever. And I'm not even focused on that right now. I'm just focusing on the fact that doesn't fly when you have a no tolerance policy. If it's a hey, if you're late, you're gone. If there's an actual threat of discipline outside of being fined, outside of
and Jimmy Johnson once infamously said there are different rules for different players.
There's different rules for different players. I agree, but there's a standard, right? There is a standard, and one of the basic rules of a standard is that no one's above the program. No one's above the program. No one's above. I understand what you're saying. I get what you're saying. Who? I'm trying to remember who the guy I was talking to.
I can't remember an era where there hasn't been a player above the program. This is the NFL, big dog.
It was somebody, I forget who I was talking to. They were talking about their time in Kansas City, right? Where the thing about Kansas City that made them so good, right, is that nobody is above the program. You would think Pat Mahomes, you would think Travis Kelce, you would think Chris Jones, that those guys have a different set of rules. However, the way that Andy Reid has that ship going over there is that if one guy makes a change, then everyone has to make the change. Like, I think that if I remember correctly, they give an example about socks, right? You can't go out there wearing black socks because if someone wears black socks, the whole team has to wear black socks. It's kind of like no, I ain't gonna say that. But why are you looking at me like that?
Because I don't believe it.
You don't believe that?
No.
You think guys were showing up to Belichick's meetings late?
Yeah. And in fact, I'm pretty sure that's why Jack Jones got cut and Jack Jones was suspended. And listen.
Okay, so there's a program.
There's different rules. There's always a program. Mike had a program. That doesn't mean that Mike is going to cut Jalen Ramsey or Tyreek Hill.
But as you have said multiple times, there has to be a threat of that, right? Where if there has to be consequence.
That's
It can't just
consequence.
be
Absolutely.
and you have to empower your players to the point where at some point XYZ, a Jordan Brooks is gonna stand up and be like, hey, that's not cutting it, right?
Let me tell you a story about Ndamukong Suh.
Okay.
The Dolphins gave Ndamukong Suh, I believe, a 5-year, $107 million contract. When he got that deal, he was making more money than the quarterback. He chose the Miami Dolphins because it was the biggest payday, tax-free state, and Ndamukong's about money. Probably the biggest mercenary I've ever seen in my career. Mm-hmm. Do you know that Ndamukong Suh in year 1 didn't do his defensive assignments? He freestyled and didn't care what anybody else had to say about it. Ndamukong Suh was about the Ndamukong Suh and out for Ndamukong Suh.
Okay, well, how did that work out for the team?
I mean, ultimately, he was here for 3 years while the guaranteed money was here. He was probably, and I shouldn't say this publicly because he could probably find me. He might be the worst teammate I've ever seen covered because I've actually seen him abuse teammates in the locker room in front of the media, which is weird, and I've never seen it done. And it's not like friendly abuse. It's like trauma abuse. But
we can talk more about that offline. He probably should not have said that.
Yeah, I mean, it happened. I saw it, so it is what it is. This ain't hearsay. I saw it because he had no shame. But
do you think that's?
Let me get to the infamous meeting where Ndamukong Suh, and this is a meeting that has been shared by,
I think you've told me,
Spencer Paysinger and the linebacker Jenkins, Jelani Jenkins. And they talked about it. And Ndamukong Suh called his own meeting. Mm-hmm. And then Ndamukong Suh basically in this meeting told coaches, y'all need to simplify stuff because you out here running this complicated stuff. Obviously, these players too dumb to do it. Like, you need to simplify. You need to do this. 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 And players were just watching that meeting like, ain't nobody gonna say nothing. And realistically, there becomes a point where people have a certain level of stature and status on a team, especially when you're making 4 times what the head coach is making. Mm-hmm. You are the big dog. So you do call the shots, whether you're a player or not a player.
Now, I understand that, but when has that ever been conducive to success, to team success? It might be conducive to individual success.
You think it's not happening on the Eagles right now? You think
the Eagles ain't do nothing?
You think it's not happening on the Eagles last year when they won a championship? You think A.J. Brown just became a problem this year?
A.J. Brown was a problem last year too.
Like, okay, but that's my point. This stuff happens. You do have to manage egos, but that's my point. You have to be a big enough alpha to manage egos. I could probably name you those big alphas on one hand in the NFL in terms of coaches. And pretty much they're usually defensive guys.
Campbell, Vrabel.
Mike Vrabel. Tomlin was one.
Harbaugh
was one.
Both Harbaughs or just?
I don't know Jim.
Okay.
I'm sure he's from the same lineage, so probably. Whatchamacallit? The one who got fired in Buffalo. McDermott. Andy Reid. We said Andy?
No. 6.
Okay. Andy. Okay, we made 2 hands.
Okay. I just to bring it back to the point, I just think that at the end of the day, a coach's standard has to be high enough where regardless of these mercenaries, as you like to call them, and those guys, right? Like they have to fall in line with your program versus them setting the tone for the locker room. That's just where I stand on it.
Yeah, I mean, that's cute. But in actuality, is it going to be executed? Mm-hmm. One topic that we did find very interesting is the discussion about what's going to happen with the quarterback position. Everybody knows Tua and the Dolphins are pretty much facing a divorce. Not sure exactly what will happen moving forward, but here is Sully on. I'm trying to get used to it. Sully on to his future.
That's a huge question looming over the organization. I'd be naive to think that everybody doesn't understand that. I have a lot of respect for Tua. He's a good football player. He's accomplished a lot in this league. I think whether it's Tua or anybody else, it's unfair and irresponsible for me to sit up here and talk about anything specific before I've talked to the player himself. Quarterback is the most important position in professional sports. I also think it's the most dependent. These guys heard me say this in the interview process. We will evaluate that position like we evaluate every other position, and we will do what is best for this football team. With Tua or anybody else, to sit up here today and tell you that I have a great understanding of what we're going to do or which way we're going to go, that would be a lie, because there's just too much work to do. There's too many conversations to be had at this point. A lot of respect for Tua, what he's accomplished in this league. I thought Quinn did a great job at the end of the season. We have to figure that out. We will, but today's not the day I can give you that answer. I understand the question. I just can't give you that answer today.
Yeah. That was a nice little tap dance routine. Nobody knows. You can't say, yeah, we're dumping Tua, because then you kill his trade value. You can't really cut him, because then there are cap consequences and ramifications that I'm not necessarily certain that the Dolphins want to tackle right now, especially, or maybe they do. Maybe what was clear is that they know they're in cap hell. They're going to be there for a while, and they got a little work to do. I mean, I was thinking about it today, and I really need to add it up. One, I don't know how many jobs there are that are open. I think there are 10. Because there was like 9 before Buffalo became open. Open this cycle. Yes, Harbaugh's already been hired. Yes, Haf has been hired. But I think there were 10 openings, which is basically 1/3 of the NFL. When you stack up those 10 jobs, I'd really have to evaluate it. I would struggle to say the Dolphins aren't in the bottom 3, no matter how you stack the order. Mm-hmm. Just because of the cap situation, because of the quarterback situation, because of the state of the roster. What they got is location and state taxes.
Hold on. I feel like you changing your tune on this a little bit. Because I'm pretty sure I said this a while ago, and you was like, are you sure it's that bad of a job? Are you sure? And
that was probably when there were only like 6 openings. Like, yeah, we were in the top. We were in the top.
A bad job is a bad job.
We're in the top 5
out of 6, but that's still the bottom 3. So I don't know.
Yeah,
I feel like you changed your tune a little bit on this, but I'm a step off. Okay.
No. I go back and forth with it. A couple of, maybe more information has been processed. Everybody knows this is a tough job, tough gig.
Yeah.
For various reasons. These 2 individuals, Sully and Haf, they clearly know what they're facing. Hell, even I think Sullivan brought up the environment and the culture of Miami and how these streets can get you. And that was something I wrote last week. I'm like, this ain't Green Bay, brother. This is not Green Bay. Like Green Bay, you got football and football, and you might get to go to the buffet like on a Wednesday.
There's a buffet. There's like
there's a good buffet in Appleton. Yeah,
a good buffet. I feel like that's like an oxymoron. Good buffet.
Hey, when we got on your yacht, that's a good buffet right there.
For real?
Bro, go there for lunch too. That's a good buffet.
I'm gonna mess with it. Okay.
Listen.
You got the people thinking I'm Mr. Big Money talking about yo yacht. I'm like,
did you take me on a yacht? I'm just asking.
You paid your fee. You know what I'm saying? It was a communicative.
It was a community yacht. Okay, all right.
Community yacht.
Yeah. All right. Yes. Isaiah throws yacht parties for his birthday.
First time for that, but I appreciate it.
I do want to say, I found that interesting. I also found it's very clear that they have educated themselves. I told you, and I don't know if you believe me or not, they are going to educate them on all of us.
Yeah.
Like you gonna get a study session on Isaiah Smalls and Omar Kelly and what we've been saying, what we've been writing.
Mm.
This is, I mean, when you consider I've gone through 7 head coaches. Do you know 7 head coaches? Can you imagine that? 7.
I think out of all the writers, you had the highest.
No. There's no way I have the highest. Poupart has the highest. They're TV guys. Like I was sitting next to Will Manso, and Will Manso's at 10.
10, yeah, I heard that.
Yeah, I mean, that just shows you the state of how things are here and how I initially wrote in my column that I wrote for the Miami Herald. I said, I initially in the opening line, I said dysfunctional Dolphins. And then I said, you know what? Fresh start. I'm going to remove the dysfunction from the Dolphins and just say South Florida's NFL franchise. I don't need to carry it on because technically we have a fresh start right now.
We do. It's a new dawn. It's a new day. Word to Nina Simone, man.
Yeah. So let's see how that goes. Let's not expect mediocrity or dysfunction or I used to say it was an annual thing. People finger pointing when people starting to get the heat starting to come, boy, you'd be like, you see this happening a lot.
Yeah.
This time you'll see people working in lockstep together in unison. And that's what's probably the most important. So it'll be interesting to see how it plays out.
That's real. No, that's real. I think one last thing I want to emphasize, because I've seen it a lot on Twitter, right? That, oh, this is Sully hiring his friend. And that is not necessarily the case. For starters, 2 years. That's really how long that they've worked together, right? And the impression that I got was that, look, if you work hard and you have someone above you that just so happens to like your work ethic, like the way that you think, this type of stuff can happen, right? They're not buddy. You know, they came to the media room afterwards and shared that, like, look, like, we used to live 500 yards away from each other and we never hung out after, you know, and that's just out of respect, just considering, like, look, we spend 15 hours a day together at this facility. When I go home, I'm trying to see my kids, my wife, stuff like that. Right?
Yeah.
So, like, this isn't a buddy hire. This is someone in Jeff Hafley who impressed a guy that he didn't realize would be one day his future boss. Obviously, the guy was already his boss, but a future boss at a different organization, right?
So, co-worker. Defensive coordinator, assistant GM, they're kind of on the same playing field.
Okay. So I say all that to say, look, to write this off as this is just a buddy friendship. This is just you know, what is it called? My brain, I have the 2-hour sleep brain right now. What's it called when you do something for nepotism? To call this nepotism.
Oh, I mean, nepotism is very rampant in the NFL. So.
Yeah, it's very rampant in the NFL. But I would just be cautious to use that term.
Here's my point on that topic, and I addressed this in my column that I wrote for the Miami Herald. Plug Miami Herald. If I get a big job and I'm trying to put together a staff of writers and people that and photographers and editors, you know who I'm going to, Isaiah?
Who?
The people I know. People I know that can get the job done. People I trust. I'm leaning on the people, my friends in the business. You know how many times I've gotten calls about guys in this industry that I've worked with, or calls from guys who I have worked with who now run papers and things like that, like, or people who recommend me for things. Like, I'd be editor of the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette right now. I chose not to. But I certainly, if I did get that post, I would go hire Isaiah Smalls as my lead Steelers writer. You understand what I'm saying?
That. Yeah.
And everybody has the right to build the staff that they want to, because at the end of the day, in 4 years, I'm calling for somebody's firing, and you telling me you wasn't able to put together your staff. I don't care about that. You pick your coach. I don't care about that. Like, get the job done or not.
That's true. But trust, I think is the thing that needs to be emphasized here. Trust versus friends and a handout, right?
Oh,
Like there is
there is no
trust
such thing as a
implication.
handout in the NFL, in my opinion. Hell,
There you go.
yeah, hell no.
But I think there's a significant chunk of the fan base that thinks that there is, right? And so I just wanted to put it out there on wax, like this
like the Kubiak boys, for instance, because I didn't know there were multiple Kubiaks. They've worked their way up the industry. Yeah, people got them in the door, but they did the work. Shula's name got him in the door, but he did the work.
You got to do the work. You have to do the work. That's
Shanahan's been a ball boy with Mike McDaniel. They have coached everywhere together. But you know what? Mike did the work. Shanahan did the work. So I don't believe in the handout things. But this league is about who you know, just like every other industry in this world. So it'll be interesting to see how this plays out. No guarantees on success, but we are in a new era, and I will try my best to not refer to the Dolphins as the dysfunctional Dolphins. Clean slate.
Clean slate. You gotta wish them the best, man. Good luck.
Yeah, good luck to you. On that note, we will be back next week to talk more about, I guess, I'm pretty sure staffs that Mr. Half is going to put together. So on that note, we will see you next week on Dolphins in Depth.